All right, welcome back to another killer episode of Exit the Norm. I'll be your host, Jeff.
Not Jeff.
And I'm Justin.
So today we've got something a little bit different for this episode. We've always been fascinated by true crime and murder mysteries. So we're going to tell you the story of a murder that occurred here in Pembroke, New Hampshire, over 100 years ago.
But before we do that, make sure you murder that like button, comment, and subscribe.
And just maybe, you'll learn something.
Hoot!
Like most towns in the United States, the small town of Pembroke has seen its fair share of unsettling events, including but not limited to the brutal murder of Josie Langmaid. But there's one that stands out among the rest here, one that's been all but forgotten about. And that event is the Ayer family tragedy. It all started when the patriarch of the Lakeman family, Isaac, passed away in 1902 at the age of 71. Isaac made his wife, Laura Lakeman, the executrix of the family farm, meaning she had the responsibility of determining how the property would be handled. Now, Laura lived in the house along with her daughter, Addie Ayer, Addie's husband, Charles Ayer, and the Ayer's 5 children. Now, the Ayer family had been living in the house with Mrs. Lakeman for a few months because Charles could not provide for his family. Things were relatively fine until Mrs. Lakeman put the farm up for sale. It was purchased by her son, Fayette Lakeman of Goffstown. He made an arrangement with Charles Ayer and Addie that basically stated that they could remain living in the house rent-free as long as they also allowed Mrs. Lakeman to live there with them. Ayer, however, believed that his wife should receive some of the money from the sale, but Fayette refused. This did not sit well with Ayer. Ayer desperately needed this money because he refused to work. He was a gifted harness maker, but really made no effort to actually do any work. His friends and neighbors described him as being lazy. He thought doing manual labor was beneath him. He refused to work the farm and provide for his family. Instead, he was known to beg for food and other provisions from his neighbors. One neighbor even said, "Charlie Ayer was simply too lazy to live, and laziness and poverty caused him to kill his family, including his mother-in-law, and then to kill himself." That's basically what happened to the Ayer family. Charlie got into an argument with his mother-in-law about the sale of the house late in the day of January 16th or early on January 17th of 1906. Charles then shot his mother-in-law in the back of the head with what was believed to be a .22 caliber pistol. His wife, Addie, may have gotten involved or possibly tried to intervene when it's believed Charles then killed her. The manner in which she died is not known. Then, Charles executed the couple's 5 children, Flossie, Albert, Andrew, Bernice, and baby Laura. Then, to cover up his crime, he set fire to the house and left Pembroke. He traveled north to his sister's house in Chichester. On his way, he made a deal to sell his horse and carriage to a local man, and even told that man that he was heading off to Boston to become successful. Yeah, right, the laziest man in New Hampshire. Hey, I'm here in Pembroke, New Hampshire, and I'm actually standing almost where the Lakeman homestead used to stand. It's actually this plot of land that's behind me. There's a house there now, so I'm not going to go up to the house and show you the house just to respect the privacy of the people that live there now. But it was on this plot of land behind me where the tragedy occurred. You know, where Charles Ayer murdered his mother-in-law, his wife, his 5 children, and then burned the house down. When he made it to his sister's house, his brother-in-law, George Bailey, not that George Bailey, offered him a meal because Ayer would sometimes come around for food. When asked about the family, Charles replied, they're all right. But he continued acting strange throughout the meal. Finally, George asked him what was going on. Ayer said, "It's all up with me, George." When George pressed Ayer about what that actually meant, Ayer blurted out, I've had trouble," but refused to elaborate. He then went out for a walk around the property. News about the fire at the Lakeman house spread fast. When George Bailey's neighbor, William Fowler, heard the news, he remembered seeing Ayer heading over to Bailey's house. He jumped on his horse and hurried over to the Bailey house in order to inform Ayer about the deadly fire at his own home. Fowler found Ayer in the back of the barn and told him about the fire at his house, and that some of his family were inside. Without saying a word, Ayer pulled a pistol from his pocket, shot himself in the temple. He died a few hours later from his wound. And just like that, Charles Ayer finished his deadly rampage by killing himself. Now, Mrs. Lakeman rests next to her husband Isaac here in Blossom Hill Cemetery in Concord. Next to her is her daughter Addie and Addie's 5 beautiful children. Because there was virtually nothing left to their bodies, Addie and her children were buried together in one plot. This truly is a sad and tragic story about the lengths one would go to for money. To end the lives of 5 innocent children is horrific. We hope something like this never happens again here or anywhere. Alright, hopefully you enjoyed this latest installment of Exit the Norm.
And if you guys know of any other unsolved cases around New Hampshire, feel free to let us know.
And maybe, just maybe, you learned something today.
Hoot!